Hello everybody, I am Michael Cole and this is Game Changers with Vicki Abelson. Tonight's victim is Mr. Sandy Helberg.
Victim!
Victim!
Yay! Wait a minute.
Hooray!
Okay, so we're late and I apologize. It's totally my fault. But I'm still going to blame Mercury retrograde. Do you know about Mercury retrograde, Sandy?
Yeah, it was a car years ago. Chrysler used to make it, I think.
Okay. Oh, it just flipped around, Michael. It's on you. Okay, now it flipped around again. Did you see that?
No, couldn't resist.
Okay, that was wicked weird. It wanted to show Michael. And okay, so Michael, come over here so I can introduce you to everybody. Cool. So see, the bookcase is in the shot.
Oh,
so we're gonna fix that. See, remember I was telling you how it does the thing.
I'm in trouble, folks.
So no, it's not you. I set the shot.
It was Mercury retrograde set the shot.
We're going to get the bookcase out of the shot. This is Michael Cole, everybody. Hey,
Hi.
Michael.
Hi, Vicki.
Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. It's fun to be here.
Michael is actually a guitar player. Tell us about yourself. What do you do, Michael?
Sure. I am a guitar player here in Los Angeles. I'm also a vocal arranger for choirs and vocal groups.
Nice.
I do some singing on film scores, and I'm just an all-around working musician here in town.
So if you need a working musician who plays guitar and who looks awfully cute, he has like nice bling, Michael's your guy. And then he's also such a nice guy that he's filling in for Pete George, who is like up in Vegas headlining the Grand Hotel. How dare he?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michael.
My pleasure.
Michael's going to be, and I'm going to talk to you in a second.
That's
You're
okay.
only the guest.
I'm eating watermelon.
So eat watermelon. So we're blurry, we're late. So you can see where the shot is, right?
Yeah,
we got the bookcase because I set it up at. But that's what I was trying to tell. You know what it did after you turned it on? It flipped and showed you when you were nowhere near it, and then it flipped back.
What can you blame?
So no, I'm just telling you, this is a weird. See, people are sending up love. People are laughing at us.
Oh, laughing?
Look at the love.
Not laughing at us.
No,
they're laughing for us.
They're laughing for us, and you haven't even started to be funny yet.
No, I'll finish the watermelon and go home.
So there's so much love. There's so much love coming up. Oh, it's getting better. Michael's still. So we still have a corner of the bookcase.
Yep, working on it.
And the heads are cut off. Yeah, this is a pain in the ass.
I'll fix it. Don't worry about it.
You know what it is? It's Facebook Live does not show a true picture when you're looking through the camera. What he's seeing there is completely different than what we're seeing. Yeah, we just need a little more head action.
I'm going to keep...
Yeah, you're going to get it. We just need the top of our heads.
Great.
And
I'll get that bookcase.
And the bookcase is annoying. So, you know what? I think
If
I
we
have
move,
that thing
what
done
if we
too
move
tight.
back the table, and then it would cut out. It would cut out the bookcase.
We'll move into the frame.
Right. We'll move the table.
We still
around.
need some more head, a little less
Yes,
bookcase. We're getting the shot. So we were only 3 or 4 minutes late, and now we're only setting the shot for you. But this is what I've come to learn. When we don't set the shot right at the beginning, it's annoying the whole show. Right. This way, I'll just annoy the fuck out of you for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to be...
We'll be alone.
Sandy came all the way from very far away to be here. Thank you for driving. It was crazy weather?
No.
I thought you said it was like 190 degrees.
Oh, it was. It was hot. Yeah, it didn't impact the driving at all. It's just...
Right. Well, because you have nice air conditioning, nice car.
Sometimes I lay down. I watch the TV a little bit.
It's scary. Oh, Michael, look how good you're making that.
Stick with me, kid.
Yeah.
This is getting beautiful. And oh, look, people are sending up a lot of love. Sandy, you're getting so... Look at all that love you're getting. That. So let's see who... Crystal Husband. Hi, Crystal. I bet she's loving us. I went out last night with Crystal. I took her to see... do you know Sam Harris? He was the first winner of Star Search. Right. So he had the premiere of his movie, Ham musical memoir last night, and we went, and it was quite lovely. And so Mary Scott O'Connor is here, Crystal Husband, Rose, Sharon Daniels, hi, Aaron Brown. I bet some of these are your friends too. Paula, these are show regulars. Laura Frost, hi. By the way, if anybody has questions for Sandy, and you can start sending them off because Michael is here and he is so on it. He's got like a perfect shot going on right now.
Yes.
All right. It's, Facebook does like this little blurry thing, but it won't be blurry in the same.
So we don't see the wrinkles.
It's kind of nice with the soft focus. No, but I don't think it really is. Sharon, would you tell me if we're blurry for you out there because we're a little weird on my thing? So there's nothing we can do about it. Hi, Penny. Hi, Penny. So the last time, Sandy, you were here was for Women Who Write.
Right.
It was a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
And you told this. You kind of told your family history the last time you were here.
Yeah, it was long enough. It was almost as long as World War II.
No, but it was fascinating. I actually watched it again today.
Really?
It was in 3 parts because my videos were
Oh,
short.
I know. It was
But you really told the story, and it's from 8 years ago. There are a lot of people out there who don't know your story.
right.
Pretty compelling. We're not going to spend a lot of the show on that, but bring us up to speed. You were born in Germany.
Yes, and now I'm all grown up. I was born in Germany because my parents were Holocaust survivors. They were from Poland, and they didn't get out, and they spent...
So wait, why were you born in Germany if they were Polish?
Because they were moved to camps that were in Germany.
Oh.
And then at the end of the war, they were just released, and they were taken to what they call... I can't... It's a camp where if you've just been let
determined.
out,
Yeah, I know what you're
I
talking.
know,
Whatever
see,
that. Yeah, I
my
can't.
mind is anyway. So
How did your parents survive the camps?
well, my father and mother were both 13 when they went in,
Wow.
and my father saw that they were taking the stronger and larger people in one row and taking the old and the skinny little kids, and he just knew that couldn't be good. And he was little. He was 13. No, yeah, he was 13. So his brother was a barber. He told them he could cut hair. So they tried him out. They liked him, and they would send him. He would cut the soldiers' hair, and so he would cut the soldiers' hair. Then they'd send him over to the women's side. He'd cut the soldiers there. They'd give him boots to shine, and he carried bread in there. And so he'd go back to the women's side. He spotted my mother.
At 13?
Well, you're in a concentration camp. There's not much else. Not Teen Time magazine. Nothing to read.
Yeah.
But that's what I said. With all that was, they both had shaved heads. All that was going on around them, they literally found each other.
That's absolute. I mean, if that's not Beshert is meant to be. I don't know what is.
It was, and she resisted. I mean, can you imagine
his advances?
They're dating in a camp, and she was playing hard to get. So,
how long were they in the camp?
They were in the camp for 13. They were in the camp for 6 years, the whole war.
My.
So when the war was over, and they were let out into displaced persons camps.
Okay,
That's
there
what
you go.
those were.
Yeah.
And he was looking for my mother. He couldn't find her. He asked around.
Oh.
He found out she had gone back to Poland. So there he So he had a bicycle. He rode the bicycle to where she lived.
He rode the bicycle to Poland?
Well, it's not far. It's all. It looks further if you're driving, but it wasn't that. And then he traded the bicycle for a wedding ring. I mean, my mother had no idea
this
was
is
going
like the
on.
gift of the Magi.
Yeah.
Do you get this story? That's crazy.
So he shows up at her door.
Yeah.
And she opens it, and at first she didn't recognize him because in the camps he had a shaved head,
Right.
weighed 90 pounds, and wore a striped uniform.
Right.
Now he had a giant head of wavy Jew hair.
Oh.
He had he weighed 93 pounds, and he had a double-breasted suit that he wore that was like triple-breasted. The pants were up to here; they were like cinched, So
How much after? How much later was this?
with
Maybe they didn't see each other for how long? Do you think?
a few months.
A few months. So
Everyone
they're
was-
still skinny malinks.
Right. Everyone was displaced for a while.
Mhm.
You could stay with people for a certain length of time. And,
Right. Right.
So then he's a talker. So he said, let's, he told her he wanted to marry her. She said,
Yeah.
no, I have a fiance. He's a Polish soldier. He's on the front.
By the way, Sharon just said first camp humor I've heard done well.
Oh, there's more. Plenty. We're going to make Hogan's Heroes look like, but that's what I say, where the camp has laughs. But so he tells her he wants to marry her. She says, I have a boyfriend, a Polish soldier.
Oh.
He's on the front. And my father said, why is he on the front? The war is over. And my father said, he doesn't sound too smart. She says, don't insult him. He says, let's go for a walk. And at that time, there was still the limited amount of electricity.
Oh,
so
really?
She said, we have to hurry. They'll turn off the lights. She walks to the train station with him, and he gets on the train, and she's standing on the platform. And he takes her. He takes her by the hand, and she resists. And he says, if you come with me, I'll take care of you for your whole life. And she said, but I don't have any clothes. That's my mother. I don't have any clothes. I don't have any makeup. And he says, forget about it. And pulled her on the train.
Stop. From that,
Well, but they sort of knew each other.
Well, but right. But
Yeah,
I mean, she just went with
Well, she's going to stay in an apartment, wait for a German soldier who's still fighting
So
the
she
war.
didn't have any family in the camp where she in the
No, her family was completely wiped out. Her parents, she had a sister. She never talked much about the camps. My
Mm-hmm.
father, not only did he like to talk about it, sometimes he embellished it. As if it needs embellishment. Even as a kid, I thought, really?
Like what would be a possible embellishment?
Well, he would say, and they did like him. I mean, I didn't talk to any of the soldiers, but the fact that he survived
yes,
as long
I
as
think
he
that's
did.
a testament to him.
And so he said to me, I thought, boy, does he think I'm stupid. He said, so listen, because he had a habit of embellishing.
Yeah.
Oh, he embellished my life. He told everyone, all of his friends in Ohio, that I was Steven Spielberg's partner. Because I looked like him. They would be.
People believed him?
The shit that he told them. I mean, he told them we would come to Florida once a year to visit my mother and father. And after a while, we couldn't stand it, so we'd only stay 3-4 days, and it made him angry. So his friends, they were all refugees. They had, children who were lawyers and doctors. And they'd say, the doctors come, they sleep on the couch, they sleep on the floor. You're too good, you have to sleep in the hotel. And I said, and it made him angry. And he said, why do you have to leave after 3 days? I said, because it just gets to be. So his friends would say, why did your son leave so soon? He would call him Spielberg, sent a plane. He can't do the movie without my son.
Oh, now were you already in the movies when he was doing this?
Yeah, but not Spielberg. I wasn't.
He couldn't make you Mel Brooks' partner?
Yeah, Spielberg was the biggest.
Yeah.
He also, I did the pilot for Love Boat. I played Gopher Smith.
The original Gopher on Love Boat.
Yeah.
And so tell everybody, when I first heard you with the original, I thought, oh, Sandy got fired. You didn't get fired.
No.
Tell what happened.
We did it was a 2-hour pilot. We sailed around Ensenada.
So you were really on a boat? See, I thought that was all bullshit. Because I've heard from other actors that they weren't on a boat when they shot the episodes.
Parts of it, when you're on a boat, you're in the ocean.
But there was also sets
They were indoors, yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't shoot it inside the boat because it was too small.
I see.
So I was, Gopher, and my father ran around telling everyone, and it was before the show was on.
Yeah.
My son, he's Gopher. My son, he's Gopher. So they didn't pick up the show after the pilot.
Right.
And I went on and did another show. Then they picked it up a year later, and I wasn't available, and the rest is history. They recast the whole thing. So the show was on for 12 years. For 12 years, my father told people I was Gopher Smith. That
So people
his son was on the Love Boat, and he plays the Gopher.
So now wait a minute. I believe I've heard you tell that he said that even when you were sitting right there.
Yes.
Yeah. So that people could look at you and know.
There was when they came to L.A. once, and I would tell my father, "Please don't tell people. It's humiliating. I live here. You go here and shit in L.A. and then go home, and then I have to explain."
That's very funny.
We took him to a hotel to check in,
Right.
and I said, "Just don't." So he's at the desk at the Lowe's, and I'm way off to the side, and I see him talking and pointing to me, and I think, oh my God, And I said, well, they like it. It makes them happy. I said, no, it makes you happy. So we went one time to a Benihana's.
Okay.
So we're sitting at a table with other people we don't know.
Right.
And my father's sitting across from me, and he's sitting next to a black couple. And I don't have trouble saying it because he's gone. My father was a terrible racist. The fact that he went through what he went through, he and my mother were racists. So he's sitting next to a black family, and he's looking at me, and he keeps looking at the guy. And then he pokes the guy, and I thought, no. No, he tells the guy, says, see, that's my son over there. He's the Gopher. He's the Gopher on the Love Boat. And no one had ever said this to my father. The black guy looks at me, and says, that ain't Gopher. That ain't Gopher. And he's saying, my father said, he was a good name. He said, no, that's really Gopher. He looks much more Jewish in person. And so you know what? My father finally felt as stupid as I did because the black guy was not going to let.
He was not buying it.
No, he said that ain't Gopher. And I looked at the black guy and said,
yeah. You know, but what's really interesting is that I have no doubt that your father's cojones are what kept him alive. Right?
Absolutely. You know, because he was too little to do heavy work. He also has a very sarcastic sense of humor. As a kid, we used to go to a restaurant. He would call the waiters Yiddish slang dirty names. You know, Schmender, Fischer,
yeah.
You know, fuckhead in Yiddish. You come over here. And we'd say, please, Dad. He said, what? He doesn't understand. He says, he would go, watch. Schwarze, you get me some water. And the guy,
no, he didn't say Schwarze. Oh, Schwarze is for black. You know.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, but not in Ohio, they barely speak English.
Oh, Pete, you're not here. Pete, who normally does this with me, my wingman, is from Cleveland. Oh. And so he's crazy that he's missing meeting you.
From Toledo, which is worse.
Wow.
But
where are you from, Michael? I didn't even know.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
Nowhere near.
No, all right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he finally laid off doing that.
He did after that?
Yes, because I said someone will beat you up.
Okay, so now the other interesting thing is your father had nothing when he got here, correct?
Well, he had me and my mother.
No, but I mean,
No,
but I mean, he didn't
no.
have money.
No, they had nothing. The UGAA gave everyone, a stipend, and they helped them find an apartment.
Did they? I mean, my mother-in-law was she was a nurse in a Jewish hospital in Berlin during the war through the whole thing.
Really?
And survived.
Wow.
Jewish woman.
Yeah.
And I have relatives that were in the camps as well too that survived. The rest of them,
right.
But the German government used to send her money.
Right.
Did they do that with? Yeah. So they got a little money.
Yeah, my parents got money, and my aunt and uncle who survived, they got money.
But it wasn't enough to.
No, but they had to work hard to get that money.
Oh, really? Did they?
Oh, yeah.
So now, how did your father go from being a barber in a concentration camp? What happened?
Well, we came to Toledo, Ohio.
And why? And
that's what I've been asking.
Say what they called it.
Yeah, so after and everyone was now waiting to be deported, and my parents were with some of their other surviving relatives, and everyone's looking at their thing, and one's going to New York. The other one's going to Chicago.
Now, are they just picking these places randomly, or because they know other family there?
If they know families, or if they get a sponsor. Like we had a sponsor. We didn't know anyone. That means,
so who chooses? How does someone choose to be your sponsor?
They volunteer. And,
so it's just a mix and match? It's
right.
not people you know?
No.
Okay.
Because I would never have chosen Toledo, Ohio. But who asks a 6-year-old German baby anything anyway? So we get to Toledo.
Do you speak English?
At 6 months old?
Oh, you're 6 months. I thought you said at 6 years old.
No.
You're 6 months old.
If I was 6 years old, I would have had a little mustache. No, I was 6 months old.
6 months old.
Yeah, so nobody asks a 6-month-old who doesn't even speak English.
Yeah.
So we get to the airport, and this is what my father, the woman says, what's the baby's name? And he picks me up. This is really before Roots, up over his head. Shmoo Moshe! And the woman, of course, is Jewish. She says, not in this country. She said, "You can't." He says, "Why? This is his name." That's what. She said, "No, you can't."
Does your father speak English?
Very
little?
Yeah. And she's trying to explain to him, you can't call him that. He doesn't know yet that there's a lot of anti-Semitism in Toledo. I mean, it's not that long after the war, and Toledo's a small Midwestern.
Toledo doesn't have a Jewish.
Not a big. I said when we got there. My parents and I doubled the Jewish population. No, I used to get beat up and, Jew boy. I mean, I looked like a Gentile compared to what I used to look like. I had a huge nose and big ears and big hair and was short, and I wasn't a good athlete or a good student. I could just make people laugh to keep from killing me. And
was that how the funny happened?
Defending myself, and I would make these bullies laugh. And
how did you have a moment of clarity that you realized that you were able to do that, or was it organic?
I just thought everybody could do that.
But was your father funny?
Oh yeah, sarcastically funny, wickedly funny.
Was your mother funny?
Mean, funny.
Was she a good audience?
Sometimes. I would like it when I made her laugh and she had tears down to her eyes, because otherwise she didn't pay a lot of attention to me. She was very busy with her fingernails, getting them done all the time. And
wait, so how did she have money for fingernails? How did your father?
He did 2 jobs. At night, he worked as a janitor in a medical building, and it was empty. And sometimes I'd go with him. And I loved being there with him. Because there were offices and tools and stuff, and he would let me in. I was a little kid into the gynecologist office, and I'd be on the bed, the thing, and I'd be playing with the stirrups. I had no idea what these things were and what was in there before. So yeah. Then in the daytime, he worked as a barber.
Okay.
And he worked for someone. He got his license. But the guy would not let him cut hair. Again, this guy was anti-Semitic. An old guy who...
Why did he hire him?
He used him just to clean. And he was selling his business pretty soon.
Oh, I see.
So he never let my father cut hair. He just made him sweep up, called him a Jew all the time.
Oh!
And then, so he's telling my father, I'm selling the shop, so you'll have to find another job. A couple days later, a real estate agent comes in. He says, I have a buyer interested in your shop, blah, blah, blah. Here's how much he's going to offer. And he says, well, it's not the best price, but So he tells my father, you better get your stuff and get out of here. Next morning, my father comes into the shop, and the guy says, what are you doing here? He says, I am the new owner.
How did he have the money to do that?
He had enough to make a down payment because, again, he worked as a janitor at night.
Wow.
Full time, 8 hours at night and 8 hours in the day. I mean, we never saw him,
Oh, really?
Yeah. Even as we were older and he made a lot of money, we still didn't see him much. I mean, he didn't know any American sports, so I would beg him to play baseball. He didn't know that, but he knew how to play soccer. So we'd go out in front of the house. I knew it wasn't going to be a long game because he was wearing a suit. And so he'd get the soccer ball, and he was a great kick it up at the elbows, on his head, on his knees, and then he'd look at his watch, and I saw he's got to go. He'd back up, and he'd kick that ball like 2 blocks away.
Wow.
And I'd go, I'll get the ball. And I picked up the ball, and I'd come running back, and I'd see his car driving away.
Oh.
And it just killed me.
What, did they let them play ball in the camps? Like, how did he learn how to do that?
Well, as a kid,
Before 13.
Yeah, and they may have,
Yeah.
I think they used to play charades and Trivial Pursuit. I don't know.
Trivial Pursuit. They're like
Nazi Trivial Pursuit.
Nazi Trivial Pursuit. Heimlich.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Who
Okay.
was the Fuhrer's tailor in 1939?
All right. So
then
So he buys the shop. That's very industrious.
Yes, he buys the shop, and then he wound up buying 2 more shops, and he owned 3 shops.
Wow.
And then he wanted to get into real estate, so he bought an old apartment building, and we were going to fix it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like 3/4 stories in a bad neighborhood. So he takes me there because I was the oldest, and we've got rollers and paint and stuff, and we're out there, and it's a bad. And they're looking at us, and my father's got the tie undone, but he's painting a building. So he looks at me. He says, "Let's go." I said, "Well, why? What is it?" He says, "This is not a job for Jews." He said, "I have to go and hire some goyim. Let's get out of here." And we ran with our sticks and rollers and brushes. I remember he used to go to this particular apartment building to collect the rent, and he'd take me with him. He says, "You stay in the car." He says, "Don't turn off the motor." And he goes out, and I wait 10 minutes. He comes running out of the apartment building. He says, "I locked the door," and he gets in the car. We puts it in front. We take off. He goes, "Whew." I said, what was they were going to shoot me. Can you imagine? For the rent, those son of a bitches were going to shoot me for the rent. And so he learned that it's not that easy. You don't just come to America and take money from, So then he had 3 barber shops, and then he, started buying old.
Do I hear something?
Yeah, this is just me monitoring it.
Here on it. Is it the iPad? Oh, it's that. Okay.
It's just to make sure that we've got good sound. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was that, and
that's crazy.
I have 2 younger only brothers, only children, because we never had a relationship.
Yeah, 2
only children.
It just dawned on me what you just said.
Yeah. Well, we were like all only children. We didn't talk to each other. We had nothing to do with each other.
Really?
Yeah.
Was there that big an age thing going
5
on?
years.
Well, that's
each
not that
brother.
crazy.
No, but I never liked them.
Okay, Michael, I think we have to, because I can hear it, so I'm wondering if you guys can hear it. I don't know. I think the sound is good, right?
Yeah, it sounds great.
What
Thank
is
you
that
so
from?
much. Michael was checking to make sure the sound is coming, that people can hear us. Can you guys can help Michael and tell him if you can hear okay, if everything is okay.
Put your headphones on.
So I know that. All right. So tell a quick version of the story of your brothers, because I want to get to you, which is much more compelling.
Yeah.
But
Well, I had 2 younger brothers, and my father enabled them. He made a lot of money.
He makes a lot of money from having these 3.
No. Then he got into commercial real estate, and they built. They just built a few years ago a Bed Bath and Beyond in Toledo. So they got into big commercial real estate.
Wow. So your father was a smarty pants.
He was a talker. He didn't know how to spell my name. He didn't know how to really write in English, but at math. So he wound up going into the real estate business with 2 partners, college graduates. One was a doctor, one was an architect. They'd go into a bank for a loan, and they'd say, "We want this much for this percentage," and they'd all take out their adding machines. My father would sit there, $340,000 and this, and you would pay this much per month, and it would be this per.
Wow.
Just all in his head.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. That's okay. So your brothers.
So I had the 2 brothers.
Yeah.
The middle brother was a drug addict from the minute he said hello, and
okay. So were either of your parents, did they have
drug
alcoholism
problems?
or anything?
They didn't know.
No.
They couldn't understand when you have everything.
Why you would
do
want that?
drugs. Yeah.
But your brother right away, like he had the ism.
Oh.
Because
yes.
I have the ism. I'm sober, but
he OD'd 2 years ago. He was in his 60s.
Wow.
He never stopped.
He was never able to stop.
No.
And what was his drug of choice?
Well, he wound up being heroin. He used to call me and say,
"That can't be easy in Toledo."
No, he was living in France.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess it's easier there.
Yeah. What happened was
Something's whistling.
Yeah.
Something's whistling.
You still hear it?
Yeah. I'm wondering if maybe the sound is on up here. Let's turn.
You've just muted it, so that should fix that.
Okay.
Cool.
First he lived. He became a big dealer. He went to school in Arizona.
So did I.
Tucson?
Yes.
Oh, he probably sold you drugs. He was a big drug dealer.
And he's very well might have. I'm 63. It sounds like he
Yes.
Oh my God! What was his name?
Ted.
Ted.
He
My
had a
dealer.
nice house with a pool and a red Pontiac convertible.
He had the best pot, Ted.
He did. No, yeah, he said to me, he said when I was there, he said, I want to show you. He takes me out to it's a 2.5 car garage, and he opens the door. It's filled with pot.
Oh, come on.
Wall to wall, ceiling to ceiling.
Oh.
That he had people who brought it in from Mexico, which was right.
That was the
before.
shit stuff. We used to smoke that. That was really the shit stuff. The
Well,
Mexican
that's why he
stuff.
could get a lot of
Still,
it.
I'm still trying to find where I still hear whistling. Do you hear it? I'm still hearing it. I don't know where it's coming from. You're on mute, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where it's coming from. All right.
You okay?
I don't hear it now. Anyway, so he got into drugs big time, came to L.A. My father sent both my younger brothers to L.A. to be actors. He said to me on the phone, he said, listen.
What about you?
He said, no, I was already living.
Oh, you were
working.
already working actor.
So he said to me, if you could be on the television, imagine how terrific your brothers would be. And he didn't understand that might hurt my feelings. And so he sent them both out, make them an actor. He would always say, push them in. He thought you just said, step over here and
well, you were Spielberg's assistant.
yes,
partner.
Yes,
So.
yeah. So that's what he did. And so I happened to be working at that time on a film for the whole summer. So I got them work as extras.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I let them use my dressing room. I told the ADs. Well, the younger brother lasted one night. We shot the movie at night. He didn't have a chair. He was upset. He didn't have a trailer. He was upset. And so that night, when it was done, we all left. Next day, he didn't come back. He didn't call. He didn't call the AD. He just didn't come. And so I got shit, and I said, it's okay, I don't like him. You could not like him too. And my other brother, the drug dealer, I would go back to my dressing room, and the door was locked. And I'd bang on the door, and the door would swing open, and there were people piling out of my dressing room with, powder on their face. They looked like mimes, And I thought, he's making more money than I am now in my little dressing room. And so...
That's hysterical.
So he, and he met a lot of people.
I bet he did. He
He was always going to parties in Malibu, and one night he called us delirious, telling us, he said, I'm sitting in my apartment with Billy Joel. I said, really? He said, yeah, Billy Joel's here, he figured my brother figured because he's selling coke, Billy Joel will hang out with him, and...
it wasn't true. No.
Guy's name wasn't even Joel.
So in other words, your brother had your father's gene of storytelling.
Yes.
So you were always storytelling. You just used yours for good.
Yes. His biggest storytelling, and I don't know if I ever told you, was, he was getting arrested for drugs. My father threw him out of Toledo. My father threw him out of the country. Threw him out of the country. He got him a one-way ticket to Israel. He said, you go there, you clean up, and if you want to come back. He was living in their house. They were scared to death. He smoked at night. They would smell smoke. So he went to Israel one way, met a woman, had a couple of kids. They got married. And then he calls my father and he says, Dad, I have a job. He said,
that's good.
What kind of a job did you get? My father,
Yeah.
My brother says, I'm a doctor. And my father thinks, he says, yeah, you're a doctor. You need a doctor. He said, no. What?
I got a job as a doctor?
He said, no, Dad, really, I have a job as a doctor. He said, what do you mean you have a job? He said, it's not like you go into a department store and say, I want to sell men's clothes. It's a doctor. He says, what kind of a doctor? And my brother says, a psychiatrist. My father says, of course, a psychiatrist. So
I'm spilling on myself. I was laughing so hard.
My father was thrilled because he didn't have to pay for medical school. He didn't have
medical
to pay.
School, he just
went under it. My father said to him and to me, he said, he's going to look like a doctor. He bought him a little chateau outside of Paris.
He bought it for him.
Yes.
Wow.
Bought him suits.
Wait, I thought he's in Israel.
Well, he
He's
got
now in Paris.
Yeah, because they were chasing him, you know. So bought him a chateau, bought him a nice... He dressed him up like a doctor, even though he had track marks all up and down his arm.
Wow.
And he was losing weight. He looked horrible, but he was dressed well. My father rented him an office on the Champs-Élysées.
Wow.
And I saw it.
I mean, your father really decided to run
Have a
with...
doctor, yes.
He had to have a son who's a doctor.
Well, he wanted one that was a doctor, one was a lawyer,
and one
and
was
whatever I
Spielberg's.
wanted to be, you know.
Spielberg's partner.
Yeah, his partner. Dad, do we owe you any money?
Yeah.
You know. So.
And he could just throw money at all of this because he had made that much money.
Yes, he
Wow.
did. Although he squeezed me, he made me struggle because I wouldn't go to work for him. You know, my two brothers both worked for him.
In real estate?
No, the younger one did. The other one worked. My father opened a restaurant for him in Toledo. It would be his to work, and he, within a few weeks, stole the place blind. They had to close it, and it was done.
Mm-hmm.
So my father, threw him out of the country, and he went to France. He went to Israel, met his wife. They got married in Israel, and her family lived in France. And my brother also said, well, that's where the big doctors are, Paris. Of course. So he got a house and the thing.
Jesus!
His patients were mainly Americans who lived in Paris. And they also...
No, wait a minute. He had real patients?
Yeah.
Mm.
He treated people?
He treated people. They came...
How would he write a prescription?
He didn't. He would call another doctor. They were drug addicts. Their problems were addictions, and he would tell them, take out all the drugs, put it on the table here. He'd treat them for 55 minutes. At the end of the day, he had a shitload of drugs. He locked that door, and there were times he didn't come home for 2 days.
Wow.
He'd be in his office.
Wow.
And the wife couldn't take it anymore. It's Paris, it's France.
She wasn't a drug addict?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Which was shocking.
This
And
is a
his
crazy...
kid-
I still
And
hear
his
it.
kids are not either. His kids don't do it,
His kids don't do it.
No. And they had one bathroom, it's France, they're not allowed. They had one bathroom in the whole house. The kids would come down to get ready for school.
Uh-huh.
Every morning they opened the door, and there was my brother lying on the floor, tied off.
Oh, jeez.
They would call their mother, and the mother would drag him out and kind of park him behind the couch so the kids could get ready for school. I mean, he was such a mess. He drove cars into trees. He drove them, he had dozens of single car accidents. Him hitting himself, hitting a tree, hitting.
All right, I could sit and listen. It's like the car wreck. I want that you could take that, but I want to talk about you. I want to find out what's going on. So, you're not any of those things. You're lying for a living. I mean, you're telling stories. So,
Right.
so you're a little kid in Toledo. You're getting beat up.
Right.
You're funny. So
Yeah.
what are you doing with it when you're a kid? Aside from getting out of trouble.
I fantasized that Jerry Lewis was my father.
Oh.
Little did I know he was much worse than my father.
So I've heard.
But I loved him. I went to see his movies, and I would do him and go to school and walk like him and talk like him.
Okay, so what did your comedy look like when you were a kid? So you were doing impression of Jerry Lewis.
I was doing impressions. I was doing the Ed Sullivan Show.
And you do everybody?
I do everyone. Jack Benny, Ed Sullivan. I was doing Jack Benny once in class, and I said something about a lobster in my belly, and the teacher stopped my act. She said, "We don't say belly in class."
What? What does that even mean?
She said, that's not right. I said, no, I didn't know. I didn't get the memo. You can't say belly.
That's the most bizarre thing.
She said, I think she just wanted to shut me down.
Right.
I think we've had enough. People are coming in and going, and these glasses were found in the Sahara Desert, and they were worn by Lawrence of Arabia. I came in and I did impressions and did jokes, and that's also the only way I could attract girls.
And did it work?
For
It did,
some
didn't
stupid
it?
girls, yes.
It worked.
It did work.
And so were you doing like school plays and stuff like that?
I did all the school plays.
All the school plays.
My parents never came to see one.
Oh, please stop.
See, this continues the beat down that I got. You know, and I tell them, when we got here, it was not like, I'm free, I'm in America. It was now my Holocaust started. You know, the kids were horrible. They used to block my locker. They used to knock me down. And I would embarrass them. I'd say, look at how big I am. I'd say, that girl, come over, and I'd be doing a show. Come on, you want to beat me up? You know, go ahead, take a hit. I embarrassed them. And so they didn't beat me up, but they pushed me around, you know.
But that had to be hard to murder to walk around with.
It was, you know. And they, like I said, they were anti-Semitic. They called me kike. They called me Jew. They used to call my house and call me, ask my father, he'd answer, and they'd say, is Hitler there? And he'd get so upset. And I said, no. They like me. That's why they call me Hitler. So don't get angry at them. It was horrible.
Oh,
you know?
Lord.
It was horrible.
So how did you break out of that prison?
I left.
When did you leave?
I got in on an airplane wearing my cap and gown from graduating and got the hell out of there.
Where'd you go?
New York.
I know you did.
Yeah.
And okay, so tell it.
So I get to New York,
yeah.
and I was.
Do you have money? Has your father
Yes.
given you money? Yeah.
We made a deal. I said, I'll try college for a semester, and you'll pay for it. And if it doesn't go well, you'll pay for it. He said, okay. Well.
Where'd you go to school?
Ohio University.
Okay, before you went to New York. Okay,
Yes.
I gotcha.
And I was there for about 3 weeks. I couldn't get thrown out of there soon. All I did was drink, drink. So my father said, okay. So he sent me, and it was amazing to walk around in Manhattan and see Jews. I mean, to see Jews out in the street.
This is so crazy.
The only place you saw Jews in Toledo was the temple or the deli, you know. And I'd be walking around, I was like, Jews! I'm home! I'm going around, you're a Jew?
Yeah.
I'm a Jew. We're all Jews. And they looked at me, you know, but it was just such a different feeling.
Wow.
Not feeling alienated. Feeling I fit in.
Wow.
Look at his nose, it's like my nose. Oh my God, the Jews, you know. And I loved it.
Wow. And so what'd you do when you got there?
I stayed at the Martinique Hotel, which is on Broadway and 32nd Street.
Okay.
It was known for hookers and Scientologists.
Oh, that's a good combination.
That's what I thought. I didn't know what either one was, you know. And so they kept trying to convince me to join Scientology.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, I have a personality. And then my first night there, I was walking down Times Square.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see a play. It was a matinee day, Wednesday or Saturday. And there was a play, and they still had some orchestra seats in the front row for the matinee. So I bought one ticket, and they said it's very close to the stage, your chin, and the show was Hair.
Oh,
I didn't
naked
know.
people on the stage.
I saw naked. Not only did I see Jews, I saw pussy. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
You're allowed to say it.
Pussy. Anyway, yeah. I was sitting
Wow.
my chin was on the stage,
Oh
and suddenly
my
they all
God.
took their clothes off, and I'm like, oh. And I was dressed just the way you think, with blue blazer and khaki pants and saddle shoes.
No, I wouldn't have thought that.
Well, the next day I went down to the village and got the bell bottoms, the wire rims, and I wanted to be in Hair, except I couldn't sing,
Okay.
and I wouldn't be naked.
Yeah.
So there was nothing much left for me
Yeah.
to do except wait for the girls after the show and say, let's rehearse that scene again.
So what did you do?
So the first school I went to was the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. That's what I went, and I auditioned to get into that school, and I got in, and so, but my father never believed I would stay. So he wouldn't get me an apartment, and I spent like 2 years in that hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was his punishment. You know, again, not going to give in totally. You know, just make it really tough for you.
Well, was it tough to be in a hotel? You had maid service. That's not so bad, right?
No, but it was like
Oh, it wasn't
my
nice.
neighbor was like 98 who had lived in the hotel since it was built.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I mean,
It was a residential hotel.
yeah, and but it was, you know, I had my own place in the middle of the city, and I had just gotten there, and guess what? This summer is Woodstock. And so it was August, and so I thought, wow, there's this rock and roll festival. I think I'm going to go to this Woodstock thing. You know, and again, I had just gotten there from Toledo.
That's 50 years ago. This is the anniversary.
Yes,
yeah,
I know. So I'm watching on the news, and they're going, millions of people are coming on the helicopters, and I'm going, well, when I get there, I will find a bed and breakfast. You know, I'm thinking this is like civilized. I can take a Greyhound bus up to the town and find and go and check in. And I'm packing. I have this little suitcase, and I have my khakis and my blue blazer I'm folding.
No, you're not taking a blazer.
Look, I just came from Toledo. And I'm thinking, well, I guess in the evening for dinner I can wear a blue blazer. And I'm packing. And now I'm watching. And I had a TV, black and white. This is big. And they're saying on the news, don't come to Woodstock. Millions of people here. The roads are blocked. And without even looking up, I took the sport jacket out and took the pants out and thought, I'm not going to this. There are too many people. Where am I going to sit? You know. So
Such a Jew.
you're not kidding. I was looking for a bed and breakfast in Woodstock. You know. Excuse me, coming through. Suede shoes, suede bucks. So.
In the mud, it would have been very nice, those suede bucks.
Yeah, and the sport jacket.
Yes.
But anyway, so I didn't go. But then there was a contingency of some guys, you know, kids, students from Toledo. And they were very smart, and they went to NYU. They also had every kind of drug you could imagine. They had.
Were you into, you said you were drinking in high school. Were you into drugs when you got to New York? Because it was the day.
Only as much as I could get my hands on.
Oh.
I was, you know, I mean, before I left to Toledo, I had maybe 2 hits of a joint my whole life. You know, I had gone to New York to visit my cousin, and he said, "You ever smoke pot?" And I said, "What?" And so we went in the basement, and he lit up this joint, and I don't feel anything, of course. And so now I go back home to Toledo, and I'm thinking, I'm probably the only guy in this school that ever smoked pot. Come on, guys. Come on. Who's a little schmuck now, you know? And so, I did acid. I did mescaline. I smoked pot, tons of pot. And so these guys would get, I don't know how, would get acid and mescaline. They had a huge bowl. And every weekend you'd come by their dorm and pick out something. They also had a stack of tickets to the Fillmore.
Oh, God, I went to the Fillmore. Oh.
So did I. They would hand them out to whoever came.
Wow.
Oh, you'd sit there, and it was like love and peace. And
the Fillmore was like the best concert place I've ever been to in my life.
Oh, yeah. It was
right
in the 60s.
It was, and it was like, and weird. Like, I saw, I don't know, like, the Allman Brothers and Jethro Tull, you know, like crazy bands.
Yeah, I saw
in this little
the Chambers Brothers.
Yeah.
They used to have Richie Havens lived in the East Village, so he would ride his bicycle onto the stage with a guitar on his back, and Bill Graham would say, "Do 20 minutes."
Wow.
He would play, and you'd cut him off, you get on his bike and ride out.
That's crazy.
And so it was peace and love, and then the lights came up, and it was the dregs. The people lying there who were on acid. And But I had, I had great conversations with girls on acid. And
Okay, so I still hear it. This talking coming from somewhere. It's making me cry. I have no idea where it's coming from.
Interesting.
It's not this thing?
Well, you definitely muted that. It's still on mute. And I can tell you that...
Is my phone doing it? I don't think so. I put it on
sounds like
silent.
something
Really?
over there.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'll go see if
I'm
there's
hearing
something
it.
over
It's
there.
not your. It's definitely not your
Definitely
phone.
not my phone. I can also tell you that none of the people who've responded to you asking have said this. They basically say, we don't hear it, no
They
worries.
don't
we
hear it? Okay,
Correct.
so if they
Yeah.
don't hear it, 'cause you're hearing it, right? I'm not crazy?
Little.
You
I'm
hear it
hearing
as well. You sure it's
Yeah.
not the voice of doubt in
No.
one of your heads? I'll go take a look.
The voice of doubt. So, all right, so let's get to the career. So we've done
So
drugs
yeah, so
now.
I did. Did lots of drugs and mescaline and quaaludes and it was great. But also we didn't know then. It really
Right.
was experimenting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of your generation.
My first acid trip was in the East Village, and I'm looking out the window at a church at a steeple, and I hear some
Yeah.
people come in.
Uh-huh.
I hear the door slam, and I turn around, and it's like 4 or 5 people, and one of them is a midget, and he's like that tall.
Yeah.
I remember I flip out, and I said, "Someone's fallen through the floor," and I thought and I go and I kept picking him up, and they said, "Put him down." And I said, "What happened to his legs?" I was like out of my mind. And then we started doing acid like every weekend.
All right, so let's get to.
So acting,
there's a
so-
good part of this story.
Why, this is not good. This was
Well,
great.
no, I mean, it was great.
I had
It
a
was.
great time.
But we don't want to encourage the youth of America. to
No,
go out and
that
do-
was,
I
you're
mean,
talking 60 years ago. Don't do drugs. They're not as good as they were 60 years ago.
Actually, they're better, I hear. I wouldn't know, but
I don't know. Well, the pot,
Michael, tell us.
I wouldn't know.
Good.
the pot was bad.
Yeah.
You'd get
The pot was shit.
you'd get a lid.
Yeah.
Of
Lid,
sticks.
$10.
Yeah, sticks and seeds, and by the time you cleaned it out, you maybe had one joint.
The lid was like, it was, I don't know what a measurement,
was
but
no
it wasn't
measurement.
an ounce. It wasn't, I don't know
It
what
was
it
just
was.
a bag of sticks.
It was a bag of shit, is
rolled
what it
up.
was.
So I wanted to do
Thank you for
stand up, and so I thought, well, I'll go down to the village.
Okay, so you knew you were funny.
Yes,
You had gone to American Academy of Dramatic Arts,
yes.
and I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. Did you have an act? Did you have?
No, I stole an act and I made up the rest.
Who'd you steal it from?
At that time, it was called. It was Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
It was called something Tunnel. It was sort of like a Kentucky Fried
Movie?
Yes, same thing, but this was before then.
Mm-hmm.
So they did a thing where they did a clown who would go and tell the kids to get the money.
You're talking about before Saturday Night Live?
Oh yeah, way
Yeah.
before, yeah.
I didn't know about Chevy Chase before Saturday Night Live. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so I stole material from that, and then whatever. I never and still don't like to write down stuff I'm going to do. So I went.
So
out.
you were improvising from the get-go?
Yeah, except for the stuff that I stole.
No, except for the stuff.
That's right. I was. I did have some honor, but the thing for me.
So you did it. You stayed on book. You like.
A little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes if the improvised stuff wasn't working, I'd go back to
Right.
they're professional writers. It's got to work, So I started going to the village and the village gate and
The bitter end.
the bitter end. That's where I went a
Mm.
lot, and because the big stand-ups were still going there. Cosby, George Carlin.
Woody Allen used to.
Yeah.
Was Woody Allen still in that time?
I didn't see him then. I
Did
think
you
he
see those other guys?
Yeah, George Carlin.
Wow.
Would sit backstage with him, would smoke a joint. And Bill Cosby, excuse me, he was looking for the next new comic, and he was having auditions at the bitter end. So there were only about 6,000 or 7,000 people there.
So looking for someone to go on the road with him and open for him or something?
No one really knew. Maybe it was just someone to drug and rape. Yeah.
Drug and rape.
Thank goodness that my ass was hairy. But
Oh,
anyway,
yay.
so that's what he did. He just had people go up one after another,
Wow.
one after another.
Did anybody get work out of it? No.
No,
No.
maybe got something stuck in their ear, but no. But you got to meet these guys, and you got to see people starting out.
How were you doing as a startup stand-up comic?
I was doing okay, but it wasn't enough for me, which is why I love, the improvisation, doing the
So
scenes.
how did that happen?
So we were.
Wait, so are you getting more stage time? Are you getting good at it?
Yeah.
You're getting good at it.
Yeah, I'm getting confident. You know.
Uh-huh.
So there was an ad in one of the papers backstage.
Right.
One of those. Some guy was starting an improv group. So I went, and a bunch of people went, and we kept going back, and he kept narrowing it down, and finally it was like 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was Carol White. You know Carol White?
Do I know Carol White?
Yes, Jesse White's daughter.
I know Jessie White. I don't know Carol White.
You don't know Carol White, Jesse's daughter?
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought for sure she came to this.
I don't know Carol.
Well,
There you go.
She was there.
She was there.
Yeah, she was there, and finally it was down to 5 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy didn't. We were rehearsing in his apartment, and he didn't know what. And people kept dropping out.
And meanwhile, your father's supporting you. Is that how you're doing this?
Yeah, he's helping me because I was still going to school. As long as I went to school.
American Academy. You're still there? Uh-huh.
Yeah. As long
Because
as
I know
went
you
to-
studied with Meisner. Was that later?
That was at the neighborhood playhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that later? Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I went to school with Goldblum and
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
The Fly. Yeah.
with Goldblum the Fly. And so
He was a young Fisher then too?
he was, younger than the rest of us.
And unknown?
He just came from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
How known could he have been? You know?
Not known.
And he was younger than the rest of us, but he got through it because he was so tall. And we became friends. We were just, such oddballs. And
He was Jewish.
he was Jewish, he was tall, and I took him on a lot of acid trips. Those were his first and I think last acid trips.
That's nice that you turned Jeff Goldblum.
I wanted him to know what he'd be missing because I
Okay.
knew he was straight. So, and then he and I took acid once, and we were out walking around in Brooklyn. We got lost and went into a pizza place, and they were playing music, and he and I were like miming this music, and I sort of stepped out of myself, thought, we're like out of our fucking minds. No one is looking at us. Love the one you're with.
But he really knew how to play. I mean, he really knows how to play.
Right.
Yeah.
And we both ate burning pizza, our mouth, skin hanging out, and so it was a great time to be in New York. I was so glad. It was before the big renovation started. I lived on the Upper West Side, between Columbus and Central Park, and Columbus was the scariest street.
Yeah.
It was pitch black. It was all reupholstering stores. So at night, when you got off the subway, those stores were pitch black, and I never knew, is that a chair or someone sitting? And I would just run to the subway. Then I had a 5-floor run up, and I would be,
So how did things start changing for you?
I was still doing comedy in the village. I met this other guy. This guy, he was a manager. He was a big manager. At that time, he managed the Ace Trucking Company.
Fred Willard was just
Fred
on
Willard,
last
yeah,
week.
Fred
Fred
Willard.
started the Ace Trucking Company.
That's right. I knew. That's where I
Hell,
knew Fred.
You knew Fred back then?
Right. Billy Saluga and
Oh, wow.
Patty Deutsch, was it Patty? Yeah. And the big guy, I can't remember his name, he died.
Yeah.
So they were down there. This manager saw me and this other guy, and he said he'd like to handle us. But he said he wants to come back in 3-4 months and see if we're still here, because
Right.
he said he's taking them to come. So we were good, 2 guys. So the guy I was working with decides show business isn't for him anymore. He goes back to Connecticut, and I swear gets his old job back in the meatpacking plant.
Oh, wow.
He would have rather have done that than, this
was it fear? What was it?
I guess so. And he was like a kind of a big fat guy, and I was a little skinny guy, and we were funny together, And but when suddenly we had a shot,
A manager.
he ran away.
Jeez.
Wow.
He took
So
it.
now what do? You don't have your partner anymore.
No, so that's when I decided to go, well, let's go back to school, and as long as I was in school, my father would,
Okay.
yeah. So I went to 18 schools, Strasbourg, Carnegie Tech. I just, went to school, and then started looking for jobs. Commercials, agents.
Were you getting work?
No.
Okay, so how did that turn? Was the Groundlings next, or did you start to
No,
work?
so I did this off-Broadway show
Mm-hmm.
that was done at the Guggenheim.
Oh, wow.
There's a theater downstairs.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a real hippie show. The producers were the guys that produced Hair. And I told them,
what's it?
McDermott,
Yeah,
Galton
McDermott, yeah.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. And I thanked them for supplying the first pussy I ever saw, And and I had long hair, so they hired me, and I started doing that, and then I thought I'm going to go to L.A. and did. But New York.
So was the dream to be in film and TV, or was the dream still to do live theater? What was the dream?
The dream was to be an actor and to do things that I like. My dream was to be a second banana. I didn't want to be the star. I was objective enough to know this is a character face. I don't want to be a leading man. I want to come in and do some funny and leave. And that's it. I don't want to carry a show.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my son got the job I wanted.
For those of you who don't know, Simon Helberg is Sandy's son. I like it like that better.
There you go.
There you go.
That's right.
That's
He's
right.
my
The Big
son.
Bang is his son. That's the way that goes.
It's my son's show, and it's my nothing. I have nothing for the show. But anyway, so
that would have been the career you would have chosen if you could have.
Yeah. I wanted to be in a sitcom. That's really where I knew my strength would be, and at that time, no actors wanted to be in sitcoms.
Really?
They all wanted to be movie stars. That was like the late '60s, early '70s, and I don't know if you remember, but also at that time, actors who did movies didn't do TV.
Oh, absolutely. This is brand new. This is very new. Last 5-10 years, right?
Right. And so
Netflix has made it cool to cross over and stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Actors who were in movies would not do TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have a lot of work. And then when it started to change a little bit, and those actors who only did movies were not getting so much work, they started doing TV. And they started doing the level that I was doing. So I got pushed down. They were a bigger name than I was.
I see.
So they got...
So how did the TV work start? Didn't you do the Groundlings before you doing TV?
Yeah. So then I came to L.A. and someone told me about this group that had just started. And
this was this back when Tracy Newman and
Tracy
Lynn Stewart?
Lynn wasn't even in it.
Not
yet.
at the beginning, right? Okay.
Phyllis Katz and Gary. So I went, and it was in a tiny theater, had 35 seats, and Gary and I talked a little bit, and I said, so what do I have to do if I want to get into the group? He said, you have $45? I said, yeah. He said, welcome to the Groundling. and he had originally told me there were 45 seats. When I found out there were only 35, I said I would never have stayed.
I never would have given you my $45.
For those 10 seats that you took away from me. And, we just understood each other. And he was so freeing. He was so, he didn't make it intense. And he really sort of guided you. He didn't lead you, He guided me into the improvisation that's what we're doing now, most people.
Right.
And so...
Did you know that form when you got there, or did you learn it on
I knew I sort of knew the format, but his was much more specific. And it was the way the Groundlings are. When he died, he had started teaching a different form, a much more subtle, low-key form, not such physical shtick. And I love doing, the physical stuff. And so I started getting work once I was in the show. And the first job I got was the Lily Tomlin special
Wow.
with Laraine Newman and
Was so Laughing had already come and gone. She was already
Yes.
a star.
yes,
Yes.
and Lorne Michaels was one of the
Oh, wow.
producers.
Mm-hmm.
Asshole.
Is this before Lorraine got Saturday Night Live? Yeah,
This
it
is before Saturday
Yeah, yeah.
Night Live,
Mhm.
yeah. So Lorraine and I did a scene together. She was the Shiksa goddess, and I was the Jewish guy from Flushing, Queens. We were married, and we were as compatible as fire and ice.
Mm.
And she would make fun of my parents, and we would talk. Tracy played the marriage counselor, and it was a funny scene. So they came and Lily wanted both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Lorne didn't want me. He told them I was too Jewish. Well, playing a guy named Morris Potemkin, who's Jewish as he can be.
Too Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went and did we went to they were filming the show, and we had the thing with all of our characters, and I was dressed as my character,
Mm-hmm.
and Lorne Michaels came out and walked over to me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "A show." Well, he said, "I'll be right back." So he went over and he talked to Lily and her partner, Irene Pinn, and Jane Wagner,
Mm-hmm.
and said he didn't want the character in the show. They loved the character. And they told him. They just outvoted him. They said,
Wow.
which is why he never liked me.
Mm.
Wow.
So we did the...
You had your shot at Saturday Night Live?
No, after that.
Because you just didn't, because he wouldn't give you a shot.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
He was a self-loathing Jew.
Mm.
He was so... Yet his real name was Lorne Leibowitz. That's his real name.
Wow.
So, he was taking people from the Groundlings at that time who I worked with. And I knew, I didn't expect anything. Like Phil Hartman, when he went, he said during
Not a Jew.
No, but he would talk to Lorne Michaels, and Lorne Michaels, that was his excuse. It's too Jewish, even though they had John Lovitz, and, but, he's one of those guys. And so whenever we would talk about the Groundlings, like at a reunion, I was the first one to speak out against Lorne Michaels. The Groundlings, after Saturday Night Live, it became a factory. That's all people wanted to do.
Go to the Groundlings, it'll get you on Saturday Night Live. Because Laraine Newman came out of the Groundlings, and she was in the original cast of Saturday Night Live.
Got it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Thank you.
So that's what it was. And people now it wasn't fun. They were pushy. They were, people were trying to upstage each other. And so I would leave and come back and leave and come back.
I saw you in a show there a few years ago.
Probably.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we have reunion shows, and then we had shows with Gary's group, and then I did my solo show. I was always afraid to do a solo show, but it was Gary who dragged it out of me, because we would just sit and I would tell him stories, and so.
Okay, so let's tell some stories. So let's talk about you and Mel. Talk about Mel Brooks. How did that happen for you?
Mel.
Mel.
Did you know, or do you know who Jack Riley was?
No.
An actor. He was on Newhart. He played Mr. Carlin, guy, and he was in all of Mel's movies. And I knew him. He lived near us, and he came to see me at the Groundlings. And he said, "Would you like to meet Mel Brooks?" And I said, "It's too Jewish. I don't like the Nazi humor." So I said, "Yes." So like a week later, I get a call from Mel's office. Mel would like to meet. Well, they all talk like that in his office, like him. And they said he'd like you to come in Wednesday. But I go to his office, and his office is the size of Grand Central Station.
Oh wow!
I opened the door to go into his office, and I thought, this is like a quarter mile.
Wait, what has he already done when you met him that he's so successful already?
He did Blazing Saddles.
Oh, this is after.
Young Frankenstein.
Okay, so this is after. Yeah.
The first one that I did then was High Anxiety.
Oh.
So we just started talking. He's very Hamish. You just feel very comfortable with him. And I said something to him. He started laughing. I said, "I can go now." And I got up. He said, "Where are you going? Where are you going?" I said, "I made Mel Brooks laugh. I don't need to be in shit." "Sit down. Don't be stupid. Look," he said, "you came here for a small part. I like you. I'm going to give you a bigger small part. I said, really? He said, yeah, don't ask. You'll find out. We'll call you. You'll come, and then
You didn't even audition for him?
Never auditioned for him. It was just a conversation.
Wow.
There wasn't really any dialogue in that character. Whatever I did say, I improvised.
Right.
And then he had me come back for History of the World. And the same thing. There was no audition or anything. He trusted me. He knew I could improvise. So he had me play Einstein. We had a 2-hour makeup with a mustache, and we were supposed to be skating and singing.
Nice.
Well, they had doubles for the skating. They couldn't get a double for me singing. I am the worst singer. Worst. So we went in to record the songs. Jackie Mason was there too, because he did a song.
Jackie did a song.
He did a song.
He probably was right there with you as one of the worst singers of all time, I'm guessing.
Oh, he was worst. His song was, it was during the Inquisition, right. His song was, I'm sitting flicking chickens, and in through these goys, they break down my walls. You know. I think they enhanced his singing.
Oh.
So it turns out they cut that whole thing out. Mel didn't like it. But he called me and he said, you can be in the Last Supper. So when he comes in, I'm sitting at the head of the table with the beard and the thing, and I had the scene there. But the great thing was, he just was such a mensch, Mel. He would try and hook people up. And he wanted me to do that scene because John Hurt was in it. He played Jesus. So, it was that thing... Mel would come in. Okay, who's ready to order? No, we're not ready. And he'd go, Jesus. And he'd go, yeah. What? All right, you guys ready to order? Not yet. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. So they did that joke over and over again. And so at the end, it was just so much fun. And Art Metrano, you know who he is?
Oh, yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, he fell off the roof. He can't walk.
Very silly.
I love that.
So,
you know that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
So he came in as Leonardo. He's going to paint the Last Supper. So they have a painting of the Last Supper that I'm in. I have this picture.
Oh.
And so after we were done that night, we're walking out to our dressing room. And, we realized, John Hurt and I, we have like a huge adjoining dressing rooms, that they put a thing in between. So I go in mine, he goes in his, and then he knocks on the curtain. He says, "Can I have a drink?" I said, "Why not?" And so I opened the curtain, and the bottles like fall out. I guess he'd been drinking all day.
Wow.
So I went over there, and we drank and talked, and I just kept looking at him, thinking, it's Elephant Man. It's Elephant. Really, to be in the presence of such a great actor. I mean, Mel would have me come to the set and sit around with Dom DeLuise and Ron Carey and Shecky Green because,
he liked you.
He liked me.
Did he like you because you were too Jewish? Maybe.
He liked me because I was very Jewish.
So there was one place where being too Jewish was good.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
With Mel.
And then I came back and did the last one was Spaceball, right? Where I played the doctor. So when we rehearsed it, I had an intonation that sounded a little like Groucho. So Mel says,
"You looked a little like Groucho, actually."
Yeah. So Mel said, "Why don't you do it as Groucho?" I said, No, I don't do it. No, go back, tell makeup to do the thing. I said, please, I don't want to, if I have an inflection, I'm not married to doing it, So I talked to Rick, I can't remember anyone, Maranis. I said, look,
Rick Moranis,
I said, you got to help me talk, Mel. I don't want to do Groucho. So Rick goes up to him with me and he says, Mel? He says, yes, what is it, boys? He said, he's not going to do Groucho. Mel said, okay, that's fine with me, it's okay. Well, he was the star of the movie. And,
wow.
But so at the end of my scene, when my caddy and I were walking out, I tell Rick Moranis, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to have to bill you. And I said, I'm going to go home and, what did I say? not polish my balls, wash my balls, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home and wash. Oh, so Mel liked it, and he said he wants Rick to say it. So he said, well, he's the lead, you know, we got to give him the last line. I said, okay, if I come up with something that you like, will we replace it? He said, yes. So we're going to shoot the scene, and the caddy comes in to get my stuff, and he's leaving, and so just before that happens, the lights go out. Something happened, they were playing with the lights, they go out, pitch black, you can't see anything. The lights come back up, and I'm behind making out with the nurse. That was my idea.
Nice.
I said, Mel, I think we could do another couple of and she turned out to be a working actress, you know. So then he had Rick say, when the caddy went out, why don't you go home and, the line was, why don't you go home and work on your putts? That was the line. So I thought, so he got to say putts, but I got to make
with the girl.
With a
I
nice
like
girl.
it. Let's see. Michael, do we have any questions?
Well,
Any-
so we've had a lot of really good comments, first of all.
Okay.
It's
By the
about-
way, Tova, I saw your comment that you were from Flushing.
She's
Hi,
from
Tova.
Flushing, that's right.
What?
Some other things about Tova as well that she shared. Actually,
Yeah.
so
Do you know Tova Abadi?
No.
Okay.
Tova loves. She was saying earlier that she loves Jeff Goldblum, and Jeff told her good Shabbos in the neighborhood, and invited to go listen to him play at the Rockwell Table and Stage, which I think is where he does that.
Right.
And Vicki, Tova would like for you to invite Jeff to be a part of Women Who Write.
All right, so I want to say that I've invited Jeff through Ed Begley, you're still friends with Jeff, right?
Yeah.
So Ed's a friend of mine, and Ed's good friends with Jeff, and so I sent an email through Ed Begley, which he passed on to Jeff, and you know what I got back? A Jewish bupkis is what I got back. I got bupkis back.
That's
so
an authentic bupkis you got.
I got nothing back. So I went to a jazz thing to try to meet him, and I didn't get to meet him. But I'm working on it, Tova.
Yeah.
Good. Other than that, we've got a lot of fans for your father, Sandy. A lot of
For my father?
yeah, a lot of
my
adoring
son.
remarks about.
No, wait,
No.
his father? or
Yeah.
his-
No, just earlier on when you were telling some of your stories, how I survived,
sorry.
you had some admiring comments, and
I thought, great, now my son and my father have completely overshadowed me.
yeah, actually, they like me and Vicki as well. Strangely,
They like
nothing
guys
about you,
more
Sandy.
than they like me.
All right, so if anybody has questions, ask them. So in the meantime, I did not know, but have since found out that you have some rock star. You had like a little rock star situation where you were in a regular. You had a neighbor.
Right, my neighbor.
You still have a neighbor.
We were there Friday night.
And who's your neighbor?
Queen. Not the whole
Now, obviously
band.
not Freddie Mercury, because
No.
you wouldn't have been.
No.
You still. That's a very nice wristband they gave you,
cool.
by the way.
Yeah.
How was the concert? Is it Adam Lampert doing Freddie?
He's great.
Is
Yeah.
he really?
He really is.
Okay.
The thing is, he's not doing.
He's doing himself.
And his voice just fits in perfectly.
Does it?
He's young and he gives them energy.
Brian
He's
May
brought
is the
them to
most
life.
ridiculous thing in the world. He's just.
He looks like an old woman.
The guy in the movie.
Yeah.
Look in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right.
I thought that, but I was like, how could Brian May still be so young?
Yeah.
I thought it was him. I mean, that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right?
The guy who played John Deacon
Yeah,
looked like him.
amazing.
But-
So you're friends with.
We've been Roger Taylor, who's the drummer,
Okay.
and we've been friends for about 38 years.
Oh wow.
He lived next door to me,
Mhm.
and we talk about insane
Parties.
You know, I always said I wish at that time they had those GoPros, so I could go into these.
Okay, so did you go to like Queen parties and stuff?
Some of them, yeah. Some he felt would be very destructive. They would be very
How so?
not good for me.
How so?
Too much debauchery.
Gay sex? Why?
Well, there was a lot of gayness,
Okay.
but
And you were too Jewish, and they were too
Yeah, I
gayish.
was too Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't play with circumcised dicks. But they were pretty wild. He told me about one, which he had mentioned. It was an insane party. they had midgets serving at the park. Everyone was.
You're
wearing
talking about
coats.
little people,
Yes.
but they called them midgets. Okay.
Midget. That's English.
Sorry.
It's a word that was used. That's quite all right.
So
yeah,
well, that's what he called it.
it's politically incorrect. But
I know.
yeah.
So
they had them doing what?
So everyone was wearing togas, and it was just, oh man. So they had these little people with silver trays on their head and silver bowls of cocaine on their head. So they would just walk by your table, and you'd just pick up a
Oh, stop!
Jeez.
This sounds like the Wizard of Oz with the little
Who
munchkins.
could make that up, and who would make it up? He kept telling me. I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah." They did have, crazy and.
Did they have those parties next door to you? Like, was that
No,
stuff
no,
going on? No,
no.
at Freddy's house.
No, they were in a place, a restaurant or
Oh,
a venue or
I see.
someplace like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing was, Freddie was very gay.
Did you know him?
I met him a few times, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that he and Roger were good friends, and Roger knew he and I would like each other because he had a great sense of humor.
Did he?
Freddie, which is why Roger and I are friends,
Mm-hmm.
and so a few times at Roger's house, I met him.
How true was Bohemian Rhapsody for you with them? How much of that feeling is real?
I was just upset that since I was involved in that there wasn't a character playing me, the Jewish guy. Oh, he's way too Jewish. Get him away from the band. Get him away. They'll think we have Jews in the band. Like I wasn't there at the very beginning, but later on I saw some of the stuff, and they were going through kind of a lagging period where they had a couple albums that didn't do well, and they weren't sure what they were going to do. Harriet and I were in London, and we were staying with them, and he
Staying with Queen.
yeah, in his 5-story ancient mansion, it was like 2,200 square feet, 22,000 square feet.
Yeah.
2,200 when you go to my house. But
Still pretty good.
so so he said he had to leave town, and he left to do Live Aid, and so I take credit for warming him up. I stretched his legs, and that changed their career. They were the thing that I was always impressed about them was that the music was what it was about. Freddie liked to have a good time. They all did. Nobody did anything before the show. We were actually, and I wonder about this too. We were like backstage, literally. Here was the curtain that opened with them, and I thought, why did he take us here? This is like the band is warming up, and Freddie's got a ballet bar, and he's stretching, and nobody had a drink. Nobody had
Really?
any drugs. That's why they're so good.
Yeah.
And they went out.
No drinking and drugging before you play.
Oh, darn.
That's
Whoops.
right. Sometimes you can't play if you don't drink
Right.
or drug. But yeah, Freddie, he came over once to Roger's house, and Roger, I think about the dull. We were playing pool, but I'm sure there was something else involved, and like drugs. And so Freddie comes over, he says, and this is like a little thing sitting on the table. Roger says, oh. So Freddie says, oh, he takes the whole bottle and goes,
Oh.
and he looks at it and goes, oh, all gone. They said, that's supposed to last us all night. I don't care who you are. It's all gone. It's all gone. Where am I going to find it, And he did it and left.
Okay, so now you have to tell your Mick Jagger story. Michael we thought we were going to fly through it. It's 8:30. We've been talking for an hour and a half.
Another half hour will be like my show.
You have to tell your Mick Jagger story because you're talking about the blow, and I know you have a Mick Jagger story.
And the Ringo Starr story.
And
okay.
This was all the roller skating.
Okay, so tell how that's Cher, right?
Yeah, Cher every Tuesday night had rented out Cher and this other woman, Helena Calianta. She was a friend of Jack
Oh,
Nicholson.
Helena Christian.
No, Caliantos.
Oh, I don't know
was
who
a
that
Greek
is.
name.
What year is it? When is this?
79.
Okay.
So they would rent out this place, and it was all celebrities. I had a series at the time, so I had a PR guy who got me in there. But it was, Ringo, De Niro, Jack Nicholson. I didn't see him. Cher, all these people. And so one night I go into the bathroom, and I'm in the stall, the door's shut, and I hear a ruckus, people coming in, and I look and I thought, wow, and I hear laughing and thinking, and I see like it's snowing on the floor of the bathroom, and so I thought, what is going on? So I peek through the thing, and I see Mick Jagger standing in the bathroom, and I'm afraid to come out, and there were two other guys with him, and he had a bottle of Coke like this big, and he didn't even use a spoon. He just anointed them.
What?
Which is why it was
Like
kept
threw it
falling.
at them?
Yeah, and they were like catching the air, and there was like stuff on the floor, And I thought, when are they going to leave? And they just were not going to leave. So I thought, all right, I got to come out. How am I going to come out? Like Clint Eastwood, or come out like Woody Allen? I didn't know. And all I know is I opened the door, and the three of them just stood in. So I was just, and I'm leaving footprints on the floor.
Oh my God.
So, and they're just staring at me like, I had a badge and a gun. So of course I had a little tiny bottle, and I thought, I'm going to show them. So and he's got a bottle like this, and I'm opening mine, and I keep looking at them, I go, and I sucked up the spoon, the cover, to the jar, and they're looking at me and laughing, and I'm laughing back like, I meant to do that, and I walked out, and I was humiliated.
Oh my God.
And then
you didn't get any of that? He didn't anoint any cocaine on you?
No, I took off my shoes and snorted the bottom of the shoes. And then the time I met Ringo at the skating, Ringo was a terrible skater, so when he would skate, there would be 3-4 people around him. And he was, skating like this. And I had a beard, dark beard, and so at the end of the night, everyone's putting their shoes on. I see Ringo's like staggering in my direction.
God, Ringo's been sober a long time.
Oh, well, this is like 78, and he sits down next to me, and did he smell from booze? And he says, I'm a big fan of yours. I said, you are? I thought, who does he think I am? Big fan of mine? So he says, yes, I have all your songs. I said, I know who you think I am. You think I'm Stephen Bishop? And he said, yes, aren't you Stephen Bishop?
Stephen Bishop's done this show.
Has he really?
Yes, he has.
He thought I was Stephen Bishop. And I said,
I guess.
and again, it was dark.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, no, I'm not Stephen Bishop. And he looked at me and said, you should tell people you're Stephen Bishop. He said, you'll get a lot of free things. And so we sat and we talked for a while. I kept hearing in my head from Toledo, Ohio, ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles! I kept hearing that screaming, thinking,
I'm talking to Ringo.
Yeah, Ringo. And he was schwitzing, and I took out my handkerchief and gave it to him, and he wiped himself down, and then he was looking where I said, I folded it up. I have that handkerchief in a plastic Ziploc in storage. So I can still clone, of all people,
clone the nose. You have to clone the nose.
Clone Ringo. Couldn't it be John Lennon? But anyway, so that was the rock and roll, and...
Sandy, we're gonna have to have you back because we haven't even gotten through a small, like the writing and Harriet and
the baby,
all the TV and Lily Rose.
Yeah,
so the apple of your eye.
I couldn't pee. Did I tell you that or no? I did,
but not on camera.
Oh, okay.
That you.
Yeah, at my age, sometimes it takes a little longer to pee than usual, and. Lily comes into the bathroom with us, and she was watching me waiting, and she's looking up and looking down, and nothing is happening. And I looked at her. I said, "Nothing's happening now." she gave me a look like, it's broken. I thought, how does she know? This is how shit starts with women. 3 years old, she's going to go around and tell everyone, my poppy's wanky's broken, you know. We haven't even gotten a name for it yet, you know. But, so yeah, at almost 70, I became a father again, and so did Harriet.
Well, she's a mother.
Yes.
Let's clarify that.
But it's, you know.
And how long have you and Harriet been together?
45 years.
45 years.
And they're 3 of the happiest years of my life. But you know, seriously. But I'll tell you, having a baby after 45 years of marriage and being 70, it's real tough.
Mm-hmm.
Although, if she weren't so gorgeous, we would have let her go to foster care, you know. You guys
This is your son's daughter.
Yes.
But not Simon.
No.
Mason,
he keeps his children.
Yeah.
So that's, and it was going to be for a few months, but they never got their shit together, and the court took her away permanently, and we're not going to let granddaughter
life is good.
Go into a foster home, and so every bone in my body hurts, and but she's so smart. I don't know how from those two, but although our son is very smart, but he's just messed up, you know.
Well, I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad that Lily has you guys.
Oh,
And I love your wife, Harriet. I haven't seen Harriet in a very long time, so I hope that the next time you come, you know, I would love to have you both on and talk about the writing you guys did together. And
okay, just make sure it's on a day that we're talking to each other.
Okay.
We both just sit here and look away.
And a few people have told me that Harriet was very instrumental in their career. Like, she got them like their big gigs, casting director.
Yeah, she can. The first movie she ever did was Carrie.
Maybe it was Nancy Allen.
Nancy Allen. It was Nancy Allen. It was Amy Irving.
Yeah.
It was. She used a lot of the Groundlings. And, you know, was Lynn Stewart in it? I think she was.
Maybe.
Lynn Stewart, Edie McClurg. Yeah.
Well,
everyone but me. But that was okay. I told Harriet about it. I went in to meet Brian De Palma and George Lucas. They were both doing movies. And so, and they had no casting director. So I'm sitting in a chair, and there they are in their director's chairs. So George Lucas starts to get into his movie. And I'm listening, I'm thinking, it's science fiction. I'm too Jewish. Really? They're not going to hire me for a science fiction, you know, Star Wars. So I said, let me hear what the Italian guy, and he talks about Carrie. I think I could work my way into that. And they tell me they have no casting director. I go home.
Oh, so you get them Harriet?
Yeah.
All right, wait. You have to hold the story though, because Michael has to go.
Oh, okay. All right. It has a happy ending. And it's not a massage either.
So the happy ending is that Harriet gets the gig as a casting director.
She gets that night. She goes out to dinner with Brian De Palma and Martin Scorsese. They talked to her, and I kept saying, "You sure they didn't touch you?" And she went to work on Carrie 3 days later.
That's awesome.
Sandy, all right, so next time it's going to be you and Harriet. We're going to talk about the writing career. We're going to talk about all the TV shows.
And maybe we'll bring Lily.
Oh, that would be sweet. Maybe we'll come to you out in Malibu.
You could do that.
There. We'll do that. So everybody, Sandy Helberg, anything they're watching, what would you now?
No, I'm going to try and get my solo show up again.
Okay, good.
You can only blame so much on the Holocaust.
Okay.
So where I talk about... like you said, who would have thought the Holocaust could have had laughs in it?
Yeah.
Mel Brooks said, I would never touch the Holocaust.
Yeah.
He said, you're crazy.
Springtime for Hitler.
Right.
Yes.
And he says, I only make fun of Hitler. I don't talk about the camps. I said,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so
It's been a long time. We'll do it again.
Yeah, and you're going to have to come back to Women Who Write.
Yes.
Women Who Write. When all the women are here. Michael, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
And thank you all out there for being with us. And we will see you next week with Dan O'Shannon, writer for Modern Family, for Cheers, for Newhart. We'll see you then. Take care.
I was on